Hello everybody, it's Elagatua, and we're finally back with the Smacky Cup 3 Round 5 replay review. This game took forever to get started, but went by pretty quickly, so I'm looking forward to getting into this one. This replay review is going to be paired with a map overview of the Round 5 map, which is Stalingrad. We will not be covering the map in detail because of that. So if you want to hear all about the map and have me break it down in a lot of detail in a matchup agnostic way, talk about openers, things like that, check out that other video. This video is going to focus on this specific match and the specific matchup that we are playing. My opponent in round 5 is fyram, is someone I've played before one time on a kind of bizarre map called Pipe Dreaming. And in that game, I had a really good opener and was able to finesse that opening position into a pretty, I guess, pretty standard win, kind of by the book sort of game. But we've only played once before that, and fyram is definitely a very good quality opponent. I think he was ranked number 5 on the fog ladder for active players when this game was going on, and he is, I think, around 15 or so on the all-time fog players. So not someone that I can take lightly, and is going to provide a challenge. And in this matchup, we have chosen different COs, so it's nice to get away from the mirrors. And this match was a little bit hesitant. I was a little bit hesitant picking Von Bolt in this match because every single match that has gone to the pool finals in the other pools have ended up in Olaf mirrors. And so I'm the first person not picking Olaf in the finals. And whenever you're going kind of against the wisdom of the crowd, it always makes you second guess yourself. Because if you pick somebody different and then you lose, it kind of makes you look silly because you could have just played it safe and gone with what everybody else was going with. However, I think that Von Bolt is pretty good on this map and can definitely go toe-to-toe with Olaf. After playing this game, I think that maybe overall the matchup is actually pretty even between the two. And I think it's pretty playable on either side of this. So I kind of imagine that in the time between me releasing this video and this replay going out, that a lot of people might switch to Von Bolt when they're choosing their COs on this map. I already saw one, like the next match after this game finished, went to Von Bolt mirrors. So I'm a little bit wary that that people are just looking at the pick and kind of just copying what I'm doing without really understanding the mechanics of it. So if you're here, let's talk about the mechanics of why I picked Von Bolt and how that's going to impact this match. And actually, I have prepared a kind of a demo replay that is going to help us more clearly see the kind of advantages that Von Bolt has. So I will switch over to that. All right, we're here in the other replay. This is a glorious board here. If you know anything about Von Bolt, you know that he is really, really strong on cities. And that is because all of his units get plus 10 bonus attack and plus 10 bonus defense. And defense is really, really powerful in Advanced Wars, and we're going to look at why. So on this map, I've kind of configured the setup very similar to what you'd see on Stalingrad, where both COs have one comm tower, which is generally going to be how the game ends up on Stalingrad. The comm towers are not really contestable, so that's how all the fighting is going to be. And I've set up some pretty standard configurations here of engagements that you're likely to see. So here on the left, I've got 2 infantry attacking into an infantry on a city. And the next one over, I've got a recon and infantry attacking into infantry on a city. And the third one, I've got a tank and an infantry attacking on an infantry. And then I've got a tank and recon attacking a recon, 2 tanks hitting a recon, 2 tanks hitting a tank, and then a tank and an artillery hitting a tank. And we've got von Bolt in the black and Olaf in the traditional blue moon. So when you have a additional defense CO, it's going to be even more effective when you're on a high defense tile. And for von Bolt, that means that you're going to want to try and stay on cities as much as possible. Stalingrad does not have missile silos, so it's pretty much cities and that's it for your high defense tiles. You use forests as well, certainly. Have plenty of those, but not really any relevant mountains either. All the mountains on Stalingrad are pretty far back. So if you're going to be playing von Bolt on Stalingrad, you really, really, really want to focus on the cities, because when you are keeping your units on the cities, you have an incredible defensive advantage. So at the same time, von Bolt has the plus 10 extra attack, and so that's going to make von Bolt play as if he had 2 comm towers. And so you get the benefit of all the 2 comm tower math. And the most common example of that is 2 infantries with plus 20 attack are guaranteed to kill a infantry on a city, and 2 tanks with plus 20 attack are guaranteed to kill a tank on a city. So you get the benefit of that math as well, but you also get the defense a benefit, and sometimes that's a little bit hard to quantify. So let's take a look at this as we cycle through. So 2 infantry from Olaf attacking a von Bolt infantry on a city can never kill, even with 1 comm tower. You need more damage than that. It's not even a roll. And on the other side, it's a guaranteed kill for von Bolt. Now for a recon and infantry, this is a roll to kill, but it's pretty favorable for von Bolt, I think. Let me pause here. I will get you the exact number. Okay, so that number is 13%. So it's very, very, very unlikely that a recon and infantry are going to be able to take out a von Bolt infantry on a city. And obviously, the other way around, von Bolt recon, no issue dealing with infantry on the city. And now here's what an interesting one. This is a tank and an infantry. Also is a roll. It's about 50-50. So even a tank and an infantry are not guaranteed to clear off a von Bolt infantry on a city. And it goes without saying that von Bolt has no issues dealing with Olaf. Now we're going to get into some other common situations. These are if you keep a recon on a city. And so this is relevant, especially in the early game when you're putting recons out that can be exposed and you can see how resilient they are. So a tank and a recon shot against a recon on a city, no problem for a von Bolt recon. But on the other side, I don't even think it's a roll. I think von Bolt will always kill an Olaf recon on a city. And so if you're going to be taking care of recons on a city, you really just need 2 tanks. And I believe that is guaranteed for Olaf. And here's the classic 2 tanks attacking into a tank on a city. So I think in this example, von Bolt got some pretty good rolls, but look how crazy this is. 2 tanks hitting a von Bolt tank on the city. The tank on the city took 7 damage, but the counterattacks dealt 4 damage. So even a situation where von Bolt is outnumbered in terms of the total units, the actual trade is only 30% of a tank's life. So it is really, really unpleasant for Olaf to be trying to attack into and remove von Bolt tanks from any sort of city, because the counterattack damage makes it really, really inefficient. And naturally, on the other side, it's a guaranteed kill. Furthermore, if you have an artillery and a tank, I believe there's no... I believe it's not a roll. I believe that is guaranteed to survive, even an artillery hit and a tank. And it goes without saying, the other way is no issue at all. So you can see these are relatively common engagements, and I could come with more scenarios that could play out in a game, but these are just some of the most common ones. But you can see that if Von Bolt is sticking to the cities, it is really, really inefficient and challenging to be able to fight into Von Bolt. So with that established, let's talk about the matchup on this specific map. So we've established that Von Bolt's got a really strong incentive to stick to the cities. What does that mean on this map? Now, if you've watched the other video, you have a decent idea of some of the contested cities. I'll highlight them very briefly. So these 4 cities are on the diagonal that goes through the center of the map. So naturally, these are the 4 most contested cities on the map. But there are a number of secondary contested cities, and the fact that Von Bolt can just fight better until the CO powers come online is going to put additional properties in play that probably would otherwise not be in play. So this city and this city become very contested because, as I discussed elsewhere, this city really only has one base that can easily reinforce to it, and these other bases kind of have to go around. So it's not as easy to defend this, even though it is closer to this side, and likewise on the other side. This city can more easily be denied for similar reasons as this one. Now, this one is further to the center of the map, which means that this base can also kind of reinforce in this direction. What often happens in practice is that if some early engagements go well on this side of the map, the player 1 in this case can sometimes be infantry starved in this corner, because if there's engagements going on over here, you want to be building vehicles from these 2 bases in order to support your fight over in this corner. But if there's vehicles coming from those bases, then there's not infantry coming from those bases. And if you run out of your initial infantry, then you run out of infantry to capture this city in particular. It is close enough to player 1 that it's often hard to lock down as player 2, but it is something that can be denied, especially in the early game, and then maybe later on you can think about getting it if the opportunity arises. Now, the comm tower is something that can be opportunistically it can be opportunistically denied by Von Bolt, because what you can do is you can build an early tank or a recon, and you can just send it straight over here to sit on the comm tower. And as you saw in the other map there, even if your opponent goes for an early tank, the worst that can happen is your recon can get knocked down to like 4 or 5 HP, and then you can just kind of run away, and it'll have slowed down the comm tower for at least one round. And if your opponent hasn't built a tank on that side, then you just get to sit there forever until your opponent shows up there with a lot of units. So that is one strategy that you can do with Von Bolt that you can't really do with other COs as easily. After the early game, this comm tower, it's not really something that you can continue to lock down, because if you look at the reinforce rates, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So this is you can't really steal it, because it's 2 tank moves from both of these bases, and that's just it's just too close, even for Von Bolt, unless if you're able to get this comm tower, then you're probably winning the game already, because you probably have almost every other. Like you probably have both of these, and you probably got all the center cities, or at least the majority of them as well, before you can even realistically take this. This city is it's another potential denial candidate, similar to this one, where it's close enough to the center where, especially if you can kind of control this area, you could potentially deny this. But generally, once it gets captured, it is not a city that that can be flipped, even if you have pretty good fights. It's very difficult to control this area in order to be able to flip this. So this one can be kind of like a bait city, even in this matchup, and certainly in matchups where the day-to-day power is relatively even between the COs. You're not going to really want to go for that. So for my plan in this matchup, what I really want to do in the early game is, well, actually, let's kind of start from a higher level. So the dynamics of this game are, up until the first superpower, until the first Winter Fury, I'm going to be able to brawl really, really effectively as Von Bolt, because all of my units are going to fight really, really well compared to what Olaf can do. The pressure is on me to be able to translate that into some sort of advantage on the board, specifically in terms of income. Because as soon as the superpower hits, I am going to be taking 20% haircut on all my units. And what I really want to do is repair them. This map is a really high income map. I believe the half income is like 26 or 27K, something like that. So it's really high income. And because it's really high income, unit count is really, really important. You're going to often have enough money to be able to pump out air units from your airport almost every single turn, even though it is positioned kind of behind your bases. So, and there's a lot of cities on the map, which means there's a lot of places that you can repair your units close to the fighting. So maintaining a healthy unit count is very important. And sometimes it can be more important on this map to repair units than it would be on other maps where you might just be inclined to try and get as much value as you can right away or before the Winter Fury, and maybe kind of sack some low HP units to avoid chip damage, things like that. On this map, you might be thinking differently, especially when it comes to infantry fighting. Repairing is really, really strong. So if we're going to be repairing our units a lot, we really need to establish an income lead so that we can invest in repairing our units without crippling our production of new units. And in my mind, the target number that I'm aiming for is around 4K. If I get to around 4K at or around the first Winter Fury, that's going to feel pretty good. And then I'm going to feel confident that I can repair enough stuff and still be able to make enough vehicles to continue winning. Because this matchup tends to snowball one way or the other. If Von Bolt starts getting behind, Von Bolt does not really have catch-up mechanics to be able to flip the game around. So if you're playing as Von Bolt, if you're not winning, you're kind of losing. So the pressure is on me to take the initiative to get to that 4K roughly income lead. And the way that there's the nice thing about Stalingrad, and I like this map a lot. I think it's one of the best maps probably ever made. There's a lot of different ways that you can approach the issue of trying to get to that 4K income lead. The simplest answer is you've got here, 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 and here. And those are just 4 cities directly on the diagonal cutting through the center of the map. And if I get all 4 of them, well, that's 4K income leads. That's really simple. However, in practice, it is really, really hard to control all 4 of these spaces because they are kind of equally spaced across the entire map. And generally speaking, in Fog, you're going to be either stronger on one side and weaker on the other, Otherwise, sometimes if you split your forces too thinly, you can end up just weak enough to get your face rolled on whatever side is weaker, and not strong enough on the other side to be able to take advantage of your strength there. So while it maybe is a good idea in the long term to try and get those 4 center cities, in the early game it's going to be really hard to control all of them. So what I'm going to attempt to do in this game, and what I kind of planned from the beginning, is I want to be really, really strong on my strong side. And I'm just going to deathball everything on my strong side. And I'm going to really focus on trying to get some good engagements in this corner. And specifically, I want to deny these 2 cities. I don't necessarily need to take them, but I want to deny them. I want to set up a situation where I've killed a few infantry on this side to create an infantry deficit over here. And once I have the infantry advantage over here, I don't really need to support this side with vehicles as much, because my infantry can just kind of deny these cities by staying in my own territory. And then I can front shift down to the other side. And if I do this fast enough, I basically want to kind of lock down this area and then flip the map and then maybe try to take this corner city, because this corner city is actually it's very, very flippable. It's much more flippable than this city. These 2 cities here, as I mentioned before, once somebody takes them, it's very hard for them to be won by the other player. So if you get one of these cities, chances are it's going to be yours for the rest of the game. So my thinking is we'd be really strong here. We'd try to delay this city as long as possible, because if we give it up, we're going to have a really hard time getting it later on. And we're going to give up on this city, and we're not even going to harass this city at all. And again, this is the nice thing about Stalingrad, because one of the other tactics that you can take on this map is you can say, as von Bolt, I'm going to deny here and here, and I'm going to be really strong on the weak side. And especially if von Bolt gets like a recon or a tank on this, for reasons that we've covered already about von Bolt's strength on cities, Olaf is going to have to commit a lot to remove whatever vehicle is there. So if Olaf wants to take this city and also these cities, well, these are on opposite sides of the map. Olaf can't be strong everywhere at once. So Olaf's early game strength using the day-to-day power is going to create dilemmas for Olaf, where Olaf is naturally going to have to take some risks. Either Olaf is going to have to try to cover everything, so send some units here and some vehicles here on the other side, and then if that happens and I've sent all my stuff here, then I should be able to win any sort of fight here, even though technically this is like on the opponent's side of the map. My momentum should be strong enough to win any fights. Alternatively, if we both kind of send everything this way, then there's a good chance that we can have some infantry brawls here that are also likely to work out pretty well in my favor. So that is my game plan. I'm going to try and focus on getting to 4K. So maybe like my path to 4K might be like this city, deny this city, deny this city, and then get these 2. Something like that. So that would be like the easiest way to 4K, but sometimes in advanced wars you have to improvise. So we will see what happens when my plan meets the strategy of my opponent. With that being said, I think we have a pretty good idea of the high level, matchup dynamics. There's one last thing that I want to cover just before we get into the game, and that is actually von Bolt's superpower. Olaf's superpower doesn't really need a lot of explanation. I'm sure anybody who's watching this video has seen a lot of Olaf in other games before. But Olaf kind of wants to stall the match, because the higher the the army income numbers go, the more effective the Winter Fury is going to be, because it's going to take 20% of the value of pretty much any unit on the map. So the more units there are on the map, the more it's going to do. And for that reason, I think people assume that Olaf is going to scale better than Von Bolt, and that is true to an extent. Von Bolt will not scale as well as Olaf. However, I don't think that Von Bolt is as pressured to break the stall in this matchup as you would think, because when you get into situations where the armies have built up to a degree, it tends to involve a lot of death balls kind of fighting into each other. And Von Bolt's superpower, Ex Machina, targets a specific area on the map and locks down those units, and it's based on the highest area of enemy army value on the map. So the higher the army values go, the harder it is going to be for Olaf to magnet the superpower away from the death ball that Olaf wants to be fighting with into whatever Von Bolt has. And so the higher the army values go, the increasing challenge it takes to do that. Additionally, kind of the unsung benefit of Winter Fury is that it slows down the reinforcements because of the snow. But Ex Machina also stuns the units that it hits for a turn. So when normally Olaf would have this window of time where the reinforcements of Von Bolt have been delayed a little bit, in which case the fighting might be more advantageous to Olaf, Von Bolt does have the counter potential of locking down a substantial chunk of army value on the board somewhere, and then also delaying Olaf's reinforcements. So it's not quite going to cancel out, but it's not like Von Bolt is purely fighting into Winter Fury with no power at all that can do economic damage to the enemy. And so we will see how the dynamics of the superpower influence the game, and the ebbs and flows that's created. But and we're already almost a half an hour into this, and we haven't even started the game. This one's gonna be a long one, friends. So strap in and let's get this replay review finally underway. Okay, let's get started here. So not a whole lot's gonna happen early on for a couple of turns. There's some interesting things happening next turn. So first of all, this is the classic kind of 2-for-1 base skip. It's not a base skip, sorry, the property skip. This does not actually cost you any income to do this, and it gets this guy out on the map a little quicker. And because all of the caps from this base, or sorry, from this property, are more than one infantry move away. So here's the limits where I can move. So this, and actually this. All these properties are 2 moves away. Getting this property 1 turn earlier at the cost of deferred income, which we're not gonna need the income anyway, lets us accelerate our caps, basically. So this is a nice little trick. Whenever you have a cap chain like this, you should just know that it doesn't actually cost you any income to skip it like this, or to skip forward. It just delays the income by 1 turn. So if that income is not important for your opener, then it may make sense for positioning reasons to do that play. Anyway, enough about that. More standard stuff, and we are just spamming out infantry. No early shenanigans necessary, because there are a lot of properties on this map, and the early aggression options are not really that good. It's going to take a while for both of us to reach the properties that end up being contested, like these here, and then like here. So we don't actually need any vehicles out for a while. We don't really want vehicles any earlier than we need them, because we really want to get the infantry steamroller going and get that snowballing. And the more infantry we have out on the map, the faster we're going to cap stuff, but also the earlier we're going to be able to fight with our infantry. And that's going to be important because we have to be the aggressor. We're von Bolt, and so we have to kind of push into enemy territory and force a lot of the action early. And our vehicles can catch up and get out on the map quickly, but our infantry can't. So the earlier we build the infantry, the earlier they can start hiking, for lack of a better term. So this is day 5. Something else I should mention. So I take this guy and I send him over this way because this is like a really nice chain. And ultimately, we want to put pressure on this property because we want to get this one early. And we want to be capping this property earlier than anybody expects. That will, one, if our opponent does not get an early recon, then we could potentially just steal it because our opponent doesn't have vision. And also, recons against Von Bolt are terrible. If you recall the map that we showed at the beginning, recons can't really harass Von Bolt infantry on cities. And you really just want a bazillion tanks as Olaf. And so if you're going to lean into tanks, which is kind of the optimal combat strategy as Olaf, then you're going to have a weakness of vision. So I'm going to be exploiting that by being a little bit more aggressive with my caps, knowing that there's less chance that I'm going to get harassed. Because all right, so we're going to do some property capture or some property skips again here. So this guy is ignoring this, and this guy is actually going to ignore this. I actually really hate this city. This city is like, you're really going out of your way to get it, and going down here and then going to this city is like, it's more efficient movement on your infantry because your infantry is moving kind of as far towards the front as possible, and then also getting cities. So I'm literally going to leave this city until like the last possible moment, just because I want to be as efficient as possible, and getting out on the board is just so important as Von Bolt being the aggressor. So this is gonna, we're sacrificing a little bit of income by doing this, but ultimately I think the sacrificed income is much less important than the board presence we're going to get from having infantry in advanced positions early. Okay, so now is the turn when we start getting some vehicles. So we built 5 turns worth of only infantry. Now it's day 6, and we are going to build all of our first vehicles. So the first thing we're going to do is we want a recon on this side to see if we're going to be able to safely get this, but also we need the recon to make sure that our opponent doesn't try to sneak this property. So we're trying to sneak this one, but we also need to play defense on this one. So we need a recon just to make sure that nothing shady happens there. Additionally, I'd like to see if there's an opportunity to take this city, or at least delay this city. If I do it, it'll be kind of opportunistic, but I at least want to have eyes on it just to see when my opponent captures it. And additionally, having a recon in this area is very useful. Just if I see any vehicles, I'm going to know that I'm going to be strong over here, because this recon is going to be well, at least if my plan goes according to how I'm thinking it's going to go. This vehicle will actually be the last vehicle. It'll be the only vehicle that I build on this side. And everything else from now on is going to be coming out over this way. So if I see any other vehicles, like a tank, especially down in this area, then it's going to make me much more confident that I can fight aggressively on this side, because I should already have an advantage just from the stats. But if I also have more stuff over there, more vehicles specifically, then my opponent's not going to be able to contest that. Okay, so just getting him out on the board. More cap phase stuff. And we're going to cap this city, and then this city we can chain into this one. So yeah, it's not the most traditional cap chain, but it's nice and aggressive. And we aren't going too crazy leaving stuff behind. It's, you know, this guy, I mean, he could skip to here next turn, right? But I think that would be a little bit too crazy. We're going to get this and then this. And then we are going to pick up these cities that we left behind. It's only this one that's going to be left behind forever. And I think we're actually going to get it with this infantry, because this infantry has kind of a weird path, because you got the airport and it's going over the mountains. And so he's going to end up here. So capping it with that infantry is like less inefficient than with any other infantry. So feel free to steal the heck out of this opener if you like it. But just keep in mind that if you are not von Bolt against Olaf or Eagle or something, then you could be potentially putting yourself at risk for getting harassed with an opener like this. It's always a possibility. All right, and so again, we're going to position this here so that we can see this. I could have actually put him down here one turn earlier to see this city, but again, I'm not really interested in pressuring this city. I might think about it if the opportunity arises, but we're kind of going to concede this city in the corner, but this is what we're not going to concede. So it's more important for me to just have vision of this city, make sure nothing silly happens. And then also, now I've got vision down here just to make sure that there's no like recon sitting on my cities to harass my infantry. And so we're starting to tank chain down to this side. And all the tanks are being built from this base, because this base does have this slightly faster reinforce. We can kind of get out onto the map this way without having to go through any forests. So obviously we kind of hid this tank here in the forest for kind of information reasons. But the reinforce for these future tanks, which is kind of the most important thing, they're going to be able to get, you know, to the absolute maximum distance possible on this map. We're hiding this tank. We are very vulnerable to harass. Well, I wouldn't say very vulnerable. I don't think von Bolt is very vulnerable to anything in the early game, but we are, relatively speaking, vulnerable to harass on this side. And the best way to not get harassed is to just not reveal where we're sending all our stuff. Because if my opponent sees tanks on this side, then Olaf could think, oh, maybe I can start denying these properties and put, you know, recons on cities, things like that. And I wouldn't actually have any way to deal with that. But just by keeping my stuff hidden, even if there's an early recon by my opponent that wants to take a peek at what I've got going on, I'm going to be disguising where I'm sending all my stuff. Just moving through this next turn. We don't see anything. So now this is starting to become a pretty important turn. One of the downsides, obviously, of not having early vehicles is we kind of have no information at all about what our opponent's doing. We know the bare minimum. The city's not being taken, and we've seen nothing. But there, for all we know, like there could be recons here, here, kind of unlikely to be here, but you never know. Here, here, here. So for all we know, like whatever we start moving on this turn, like our opponent's gonna be able to see it. So it's a little bit of a nervy turn, and we need to try and de-risk this by getting as much vision as possible and setting up for the next couple of turns. So I think first thing we're going to do is we're going to move these recons, I'm hoping. There we go. Yeah, so moving it here. This is, first of all, to see, just to make sure that these properties are not getting capped. Because if those properties are getting capped, then we need to deny them immediately. And also now we see the comm tower timing. If this comm tower was empty, I might consider... well, I was thinking about maybe interrupting with the tank to delay it. I don't really think it's worth the risk, because if my opponent does have 2 tanks on this side, which is a thing that could absolutely happen, then I could literally lose a tank for free, which would be really dumb. So don't need to be too crazy, but we are going to go for this prop. And so this property is going to force Olaf to either do something, or we're going to get a really valuable property. And we have the whole world to defend against whatever comes at our capturing infantry here. And remember, I've mentioned this a million times, but Olaf really has trouble dealing with infantry on cities, because von Bolt units on cities are really hard to remove. We saw that in the early game, you almost always need 3 units attacking into an infantry on a city to get rid of it, or 2 tanks, right? But if there's only 1 or fewer tanks, then you need like 3 units usually to get a unit off a city. So we're creating a potential favorable engagement by forcing our opponent to attack into us if they want to prevent us from getting this lucrative city. They're just finishing some caps here, some infantry movement that we're always going to do no matter what. Having this recon here is nice as well. We need to also be wary of this city. Just like we can potentially harass this city by denying it, by sticking a vehicle on that property, even though we're not choosing to this game. That is something that we could do and would be a good strategy, and I've done it in the past. Just like we can do that, we also need to be wary of our opponent doing the same thing. It's very easy to put a recon up in this corner. But if that recon, if anything shows up on this city, then we do at least have vision of this one tile, so we could see something move up there. And if we don't see anything there, it's pretty unlikely that our opponent actually has anything blocking. And so we'll be more safe to make the blind leap with this infantry into that city that we don't have vision of. All right, and so now this is a pretty important move here. So we finally get some information. So we see that this infantry is taking this city, so we're not going to be able to harass that, and that's fine. We didn't really want to anyway, but that's now taken care of. Having this recon on this city is nice, because I'm going to probably bring this guy down here to potentially take this city next turn. And if my recon is on this city, then that means that my opponent cannot block it with their recon. And that would be, my opponent blocking that property with a recon would be pretty frustrating for me, because I have no way to get rid of it. So we can also, even though it's very exposed and totally unsupported, it's very uncomfortable for Olaf to attack into this recon, because we haven't shown any tanks anywhere. So for all Olaf knows, we've got like a tank here, and a tank back here to potentially really mess up any tanks that come in and attack our recon. Again, in the early game, we're good at fighting, so we want to make our opponent nervous, and we want to exploit Olaf's reluctance to attack us by getting some good vision here, even though it's a free recon if there's 2 tanks there to eat him. All right, so we're going to set up more stuff here. Again, just trying to get our tanks in position, because we want to take a fight when the caps start happening here. But 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This is also my hedge against a recon being on this city. Like if somehow the recon was already there, then this tank can at least hit the recon here, and my infantry will probably get blocked, but it's not. I mean, it's not the end of the world. Can my recon actually get there too? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. No, my recon can't. I should have just clicked the recon. Haha. Yeah, so my recon can't get over here, but at least the tank can punish whatever would come on this city if that happens. And alternatively, if that doesn't happen, this tank is also covering this cap, which is the most likely place for there to be combat this next turn. And so we're going to leave this guy up here. We don't want this this recon to attack this infantry because, again, any sort of recon combat on the weak side, we don't really have any countermeasures for it. So our best defense is just hiding information from my opponent about where my stuff is. We go for an early anti-air here. I guess day 9 isn't really that early, but because, I mean, I've said it a million times, Von Bolt tanks on cities are like impossible to remove, basically. But what that could mean is that Olaf might want to use copters early. And so an early copter build is actually something that you can try to do against Von Bolt, because if you're sending your copter into a tank on a city, you're not really taking that counterattack damage, and it's going to end up being a lot more efficient. So I want to make sure that I'm not cutting any corners. I've got 3 tanks, and that should be good for a while. Now it's time to get some anti-air. And we're starting to hit this timing where I'm really strong here. And if I get this cap, then I'm going to want to start shifting down here to deny this property and make sure that we don't give that one up. Oh, okay. So I actually sent this other tank up here. So this is like, I think this is, it doesn't actually move this tank any closer, but this is just a pure paranoia move. If somehow we saw like a tank come up this way and end up on that city, this would be like a hard punish for that, because we could send the recon into the woods to look at it, and then we could clear the tank with both of our tanks and then get the city. I still think that's unlikely to happen, but it is kind of safe, and these tanks are still both 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So these tanks are still both in range of this comm tower and all these properties, and are also defending this city as well. So the positioning is kind of very precise to cover everything. So now this is like a very interesting turn, because now we're going to get some information. So you see an infantry come in there. We see another infantry kind of pop through our vision. Honestly, I think that's kind of a mistake. Because our opponent, like Olaf, should know that we can see this tile, so moving an infantry through here is just free information. And we do get popped here, but this is actually kind of good because that infantry was here. And so this is probably the infantry that wanted to cap this city, and now it can't because he has to spend it interrupting this cap. So that's actually really good for us, even though we don't secure the city this turn. It's just as good as denying a city from our opponent. And again, our game plan, we want to get some early infantry pickoffs on this side, because when we show our hand, we show all the vehicles we have here, Olaf is going to end up probably wanting to build a lot of vehicles from these bases, and we can create an infantry shortage that we can exploit later on in the game. So everything's going to plan so far. And we see the recon back up and then another infantry come in. All right. So now this is a really, really important turn, because this is the absolute peak of our lack of information about the board. We didn't have any early vehicles, and so we sacrificed early vision to have like the absolute most efficient cap phase possible. And because of that, we've seen a recon. we've seen a recon, right? It tells us basically nothing about what our opponent has. And, we've got like, 2 tanks and 2 recons in combat positions. And so there's a lot of missing vehicles on our opponent's side of the board. So let's put you, the viewer, to the test. This is your chance to test your fog reading skills. How much information can you suck out of what we've seen so far? Do you have an idea of what opener you think our opponent is likely to have chosen? At this point, I think I have enough information that I'm about 75% sure about this. Obviously, I can't know like turn by turn what the exact opening is, but I've got a pretty good idea and a pretty good read on what I think our opponent did. And it's going to be really important because it's going to affect basically everything about what I do in this next turn, because there's a lot of potential offensive possibilities here. Like these infantry are sitting here, and I've got a lot of vehicles that are in position to attack. So I will kind of pause there. If you want to spend some time, this is your quiz, right? So you can go back, kind of examine what we've seen so far, and lock in your guess now, because I'm going to give you my analysis on what I think we're seeing in about 5 seconds. Okay, let's review what we know. So this is kind of step 2. So there's some information that we know about the board that is maybe not completely obvious. Some more experienced players might have picked up on this. But first, let's start with the simple thing. First of all, this infantry attacked this infantry. That means that Olaf has vision of this property, because this infantry can't see far enough. That means there's almost certainly another recon here somewhere. There basically has to be. If there was a tank, we would see it unless it was here, and the odds of the tank being like on that exact square, pretty unlikely. So really, really likely that there is a recon somewhere. And there's a good chance that it was built 2 turns ago, because the reinforced for recons 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And so I guess it could be either here or here. But if it's going this route, then it's probably 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So it could be in one of these 2 spots. Or if it was built from this base, then it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So here. So basically, there's probably a recon in one of these squares. It could also be here too. But then it would have had to have been built earlier. So additionally, I kind of feel that if my opponent had a recon that was in combat range, it might have tried to attack this infantry with the recon rather than the infantry, because this infantry wanted to cap the city. So all right, so that's kind of straightforward information. So we know there's probably a recon somewhere on the other side. That doesn't still tell us that much. However, there is a much more telling piece of information that is really, really subtle. And this is what I picked up on, and it allowed me to make some judgments about what I wanted to do this turn. Let's count the infantry on the strong side. We got 1, 2, 3. And we also saw an infantry come this way. So now it's 1, 2, 3, probably 4. You probably wouldn't put an infantry here, right? We know the infantry came out of the forest, or at least maybe it was like from behind the forest, right? But you wouldn't leave the infantry here. So most likely, like there's an infantry here, right? So 1, 2, 3, 4. But importantly, we know there has to be an infantry here as well, because any infantry that goes here would never go there unless there was already another infantry capping this city, because you would just send it here instead. Putting it here when this is uncapped and empty does you absolutely no good. There's no world that would ever happen. So really, we know that there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 infantry on this strong side. How many infantry do we have on the strong side? 1, 2, 3, 4. So our opponent already has 1 more infantry on the strong side that we than we have, and also this guy actually got routed from this base too. So our opponent has a lot of infantry in really advanced positions on their strong side. That means it's really likely that we are playing against an APC opener, and an APC opener means that's 1 less fighting unit, 1 less tank, basically, in the early game. Sure, it's going to get value later on, and we got to respect the amount of infantry that it's going to generate on the strong side. But if we actually believe that it's really an APC opener, then that means we can fight here, and there's no way that Olaf can match our combat power on this side. Okay, so that's where my head's at on this turn. I think we've got a great opportunity to be aggressive, even though it feels risky, just kind of blindly attacking into the darkness. But we ought to be strong here if it's really an APC opening. So let's see what we do next. So we're just gonna, I think we're finish some caps, kind of some automatic plays. Oh yeah, we need to see if this was actually empty or not. And we didn't see anything come up this way, so we were pretty sure that this was going to end up being empty. But if it wasn't empty, we want to know, because that would change what we do with these tanks. And ideally, we want to use this recon for something as well. So we don't want to like send it to the corner to spot, because we want to use the recon to fight. It's got a lot of good targets. I'm doing some more auto moves. Okay, so another thing we want to do here, we just want to peek this city. It would be really, really unfortunate if our opponent was capping this city this turn, because the only thing we have to interrupt that property is one of these 2 guys that are already capping something, and this recon can't reach. So we really don't want to have to interrupt a cap here if we don't have to. And so we see nothing, and that's great. That means we can finish everything, and then if the cap happens and at any point in the future, these infantry will be free. They can deal with anything by themselves. So that's wonderful. Next, so now we can finish our caps, right? Because now we know these guys they don't need to be pulled off. So now we get a free recon kill on this, and now we see the recon here, which kind of makes sense. We knew there had to be a recon, and now this is really, really juicy. I'm set up so well to punish this. Originally, my plan was send this guy back here just to heal, but actually, because Von Bolt is crazy, a tank and a 7 HP infantry is a guaranteed kill of an infantry on a property. It's pretty wild, as Von Bolt. And so now I can do tank, infantry, kill this guy, tank, and it'll bring this recon down to 1. And this tank is going to end up on the comm tower. Now, it's not a risk-free move, because there could be artillery, especially artillery, is what is really scary to cover this city. And especially artillery built from this base, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So if there's like an artillery here, it really would stink. Especially if like there's an artillery here and then like 2 tanks. That'd be pretty bad. And putting a tank here, again, that puts us in 2 tank moves from these 2 bases. So if it was like artillery 2 turns ago, put here, and then we activate like another tank or two just by having a unit on this comm tower, that'd be really bad. But I think that is very, very unlikely, because this recon positioning suggests that the recon was built from this base 2 turns ago, not an artillery. So if the artillery was here, it would have had to have been built on the same turn that this recon was likely built, and this recon's pathing suggests it was built from this base. So the number one thing that would like really, really punish us is pretty unlikely, and I think it's worth the risk. So we're just going to commit here. And then we see a tank here, and seeing a tank here is actually amazing. It's really good for us because we're scared of the artillery. We're not scared of tanks. You saw what Olaf tanks do to von Bolt tanks on cities. It's nothing. Even if there's 2 tanks that come in and attack this tank here, it's not much worse than an even trade. And we just got 2 infantry, and we totally negated the power of this recon as well. So I'm feeling really good about this. Additionally, because of our cap phase, this infantry is kind of a backup. And so we're going to be able to start capping this extremely lucrative city this turn as well. So not only is our opponent going to have to worry about trying to deal with like all of our stuff, but they have to try and worry about interrupting this cap as well. And that's just way too much stuff to deal with. So this is the dream start. That being said, the one downside to this is we're kind of revealing all of our cards, because this is all we've got, and it kind of removes the mystery of like, you know, I could have units here, I could have units somewhere else. Now we're just saying like, no, all my stuff's here. And if all my stuff's there, then all my stuff's not here. So we can't really... I don't know if did I end up trying to take the city? Let's see. I think I'm saving this for last. Yeah, so I moved the recon back, knowing that I'm really vulnerable on this side. Yeah, and we leave the infantry here. So I don't even bother trying to cap this city, because I think it's so likely that I'm just going to get counterattacked that I'd rather just leave it here. And additionally, I know, well, if I'm right about the APC opening, then my opponent is going to have a lot of infantry. I really need to be conservative about my own infantry down in this corner, because I don't want to be in the same situation that Olaf's going to be up here, where Olaf doesn't have enough infantry to actually get these properties. So being conservative is a wise decision as well. One last thing, this tank being here is in anticipation of shifting down this way. I think I'm really likely to get this property this next turn, and that means that my work in this side is probably likely going to be done, because I'm going to have enough infantry to shut down these caps by themselves. So this tank still covers all of these tanks, but is also thinking about shifting down this way next turn. So yeah, Olaf going for the city. But now we're ready. Now we're ready to defend this, and the recon comes in and does not kill that infantry. So we don't lose out on the, because I think it's like 90% in our favor to have that infantry survive. So under other circumstances, Olaf would never do that. But because we showed everything here, Olaf can be pretty confident that there's no risk of a tank showing up to just pop off that recon. And if I did have a tank there, it would just kill the recon. But unfortunately, I'm just a little bit too far away. So that's fine. We live with it. The infantry is not dead, can be repaired. Repairing infantry is really good, especially on this map. We see an infantry go into the forest here. The infantry move back. Kind of surprising. I don't really know why that was. I guess maybe I don't even know if I noticed that when I was playing. Maybe to... So I think the idea is like just to create a line here so that I can't pick off this tank. But that tells me that, you know, this tank is probably the only tank on this side. Okay, so objective secured up here. We are in 0 risk of giving away these 2 corner properties, and this is part of our path to the 4K lead, right? Like that's what we're aiming for. So we're gonna get this city this turn. We've denied these 2 cities, and we've already got this city. So as of this turn, I mean, it's not totally secure yet because we've got some like cleanup properties to take, right? But we're gonna get this property, and we're not gonna give up this property, and we've got this property, and we're not gonna give up this property. So we're already 2K in the good. So we're halfway to where we want to be. This is a great start. Probably, you know, could not have worked better. Although the challenge of fighting an APC build is that it's kind of the snowball effect of your opponent having a lot of infantry. And normally we could make a play for this city, but actually we can't get it yet. And it would be really nice to have, you know, get this one and then go up 3K that way. And then maybe like get this one and this one, deny here, and you're 4K. But seems like that it's going to be a little bit of time before we can actually accomplish that. So first things first, we're never ever going to let him get that city. And now we see tanks here, which is frankly not much of a surprise based on some of the movements that we saw over here. And so now that we've accomplished this, we've kind of gotten all of our objectives on this side, and now it is time to fight. We want to fight, but we need to fight on the other side. So we can send this tank in to hit this infantry. This tank is going to be really vulnerable and is almost certainly going to be attacked, and we know it's going to be attacked. But this is the value of the pivot, and the pivot in Stalingrad is really very powerful. You have this center area here, and there's just a lot of objectives in the center, and so we didn't overextend into this corner, and this is going to give us the ability to go over here and go from, you know, oh, I'm going to attack your weak side. All of a sudden, now I'm supporting my weak side. So now both of these tanks are supporting all this. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I'm not quite supporting this recon, but I am supporting this tank. And this tank is the most likely thing to get attacked. And you would expect that I'd probably get attacked from this forest and maybe here. So we ended up trading infantry for infantry over here, which is not the end of the world. But the important thing is I want my recon to end up on the city, because if the recon's on the city, then I mean there's no way that Olaf can get rid of it, considering that I've got kind of everything over here. So we're starting to build some copters as well. Copters are really good. And we have an anti-air going this way to protect against, or well, it was going this way. We're kind of pivoting down this way. So we're probably going to keep this anti-air kind of in the middle of the map. But copters also work as anti-air. So this is kind of my backup plan. It's good to have some sort of anti-air threat on both sides of the board, just because you tend to have 2 separate fronts oftentimes. And so you don't want to get caught with an enemy copter over there and no way to fight against it. So it's kind of my hedge against that. But it's kind of mostly tanks. This anti-air is obviously pretty, I mean, it's not in like a very defended position, but there's no way that anything is going to attack this anti-air, and we need it for the fight. And then we're just going to leave this tank out of vision. It's okay that it's out of vision because it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 still covering this tank. So It's the power of the pivot, right? We put a tremendous amount of pressure over here, locking down these cities. And after one turn, every single vehicle that I have is supporting this tank. Every single tank that I got is still supporting this one tank here. So we can really change the angle of attack very, very quickly. Hit on the left. Now we're ready to fight in the middle. And look at all this infantry, and like there's so many infantries. So we do get attacked here, hardly surprising, and we lose an infantry. I see the recon go in here, and we see an artillery show up, and the APC, which we were pretty sure that there was an APC, and now we know that the APC is there. You see another tank show up. All right, so now the world is our oyster. So this is the benefit of the good positioning of the previous turn. Even though like there's a lot of stuff here and we lost a tank, but we have everything here. And I think literally every vehicle in the game that we have made that is not dead is available for combat this turn. It's just really good setup and planning leading up to this turn. One interesting thing is we have this anti-air. We don't see any copters. The anti-air, because this tank is on a 0 defense tile, a tank and an anti-air is a 90% roll to kill this tank just by themselves, which is really, really awesome. And doing that basically it sets up a way where I basically can attack the artillery with a recon. And on top of that, I can actually deny this property and hit this infantry and kill like all this stuff. So we need to start with that. %90 roll. Why? So this is why we can't have nice things. And now this ruins everything. It's not the end of the world. Like I can still break the artillery. It's not a big deal, but I have to basically spend a recon that I wanted to spend attacking an infantry to finish off this 1 HP tank. Alternatively, I could have pulled this infantry off, but the problem is that if I pull this infantry off, I don't actually really have any other infantry that are in position to kind of follow up with a cap here. Like if I had another infantry like here or here, then I'd definitely think about it. But this guy is like, 3 moves away. These guys are 3 moves away. These guys are 3 moves away. So if I don't finish this cap this turn, it's going to be at least like 3 or 4 turns before I actually secure the center city. So I'd rather cap it, even though it really hurts to spend the recon on that. And so now, to make a long story short, I basically can no longer contest this city because I lost that roll. If I got the 90% roll, then I would be able to kill the infantry on this city with one of these recons and then one of these infantry, but I can't do it anymore. So I am very, very grumpy about that. It also means that I have to spend a tank attacking this artillery. I think I wanted to use a recon originally because I'd rather not lose. Whatever goes here is dying, right? But I have to use a tank now. But anyway, it's still all right. Like we hit the artillery, and we've killed a tank, and this tank's at 1. So we lost 1 tank, but we've killed 2 tanks now, and we basically neutralized an artillery as well. So again, the early game brawling, it's really, really good for Von Bolt. These are kinds of the things that you can get away with. Overextended past the center line a little bit. And this is a good time to talk about the line of death. How far is too far to overextend on your opponent's side of the map when brawling? Well, 2 tank moves from the fastest factory. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that's actually kind of a helpful line here. So it's just this city, the diagonal along with this city. So you really do not want to be any closer to your opponent than this, because you are going to be to use Go7's vocabulary, you're going to be activating additional enemy units, or I like to say creating them out of thin air, right? Because if you don't go close enough, then they just kind of have to get close enough to stare at you, but they can't actually accomplish anything. But anyway, so enough salt over my failed roll here. We're deathballing here. One of the nice things about Von Bolt is any place that I want to be on the map is pretty much going to belong to me, just because I fight better. But we do have to keep in mind that we are getting close to the first Olaf superpower. We're about 31k of charge away. That's probably 2 turns. I think it's really, really unlikely that Olaf can get their next turn. I think it's pretty impossible. But the turn after that, really likely to be a superpower turn. So we just need to keep that in mind. We want to be prepared for the superpower when it comes. And again, just taking opportunities to get rid of infantry. We don't need to be afraid of our recons getting hit. We have enough recons, and we've done well enough in the tank fight that the Olaf tanks basically have to fight our tanks, and he doesn't have enough tanks to actually fight my tanks and also my recons. So my recons can kind of just run around killing infantry while the tanks are fighting, and it's great. So just putting stuff on cities, doing Von Bolt things. I could have tried to cap this turn. Maybe it even would have been a good idea, but I don't want a tank to sit on my city and hit my recon, which I think is kind of unlikely to happen anyway. But maybe it would have been worth actually trying to go for that city. But anyway, I didn't do it. Oh, and I built a neotank because we got 26k. So this is a really good time for a neotank. How much income did I have at the beginning of the turn? How do I even control this game? I'm going way too far back. Okay. Oh, maybe it's like a replay viewer bug. It's not showing me my income. Oh no! If I go back. Oh my God! I'm so sorry. You think I'd be better at pressing buttons, but I'm not. Okay, we figured it out. So I have 24,800. That was embarrassing. So that's perfect for Neotank 2 infantry. So it's like a really obvious tech turn. And again, we're up kind of 2k in terms of income based on this property and this property. So one of the ways that you can exploit your income advantage is by teching quickly. So let's see how this goes here. Okay, so not too bad. And this is already going really well, as it should. If you're Von Bolt and you're brawling, you should be winning because the stats are in your favor. So it should be going downhill. Fighting should be pretty easy for you, and it should be uphill for Olaf until the powers hit, which is going to happen really, really soon. So, and the overall trading has been fine. I've lost 2 tanks so far, but I've essentially killed 2 tanks as well, and I also did a lot of damage to the artillery. So that last trade was pretty favorable, and I also took care of some infantry. So we're already winning in the infantry trades, and if we look at the stats, we can see that I've done about 12k more in damage dealt than taken. So that's a great start. So what we want to do here on this turn is just continue trading the tanks. We've every time we lose a tank, it takes 2 enemy tanks to kill that tank, and then we can counterattack those tanks with our tanks. And because we have Von Bolt stats, in the long run, this is going to be to our advantage. So we just need to be mindful of, again, the line of do not cross. We do not want to cross this line to activate any more tanks. So anything in front of this line is fair game, and anything behind it, we don't really want to mess with. We do get this corner city as well. So now this is 3k. So now we're 3k. We're almost all the way to a 4k income lead, which is what we want. And honestly, 3k ain't bad. So we've, as Von Bolt, we need to be the aggressor, take the initiative, make stuff happen, and the stats are in our favor to make us able to do that. And we're doing well so far against a kind of our idea of what we want to accomplish. Excuse me. So I'm opting to take additional chip on this guy because the remaining tanks I'd like to remain at full, so that when they get Winter Furied, I can repair them more quickly and have them back in the fight. Unfortunately, we leave another tank at 1 HP. You'll notice that this positioning is really, really specific. It's just in front of the line that we don't want to cross. So when I say we're going to attack anything in front of that line and not cross it, that is exactly what we're doing. We are not going to be crossing that line. And now we're looking at the charge. So it's 10k to Winter Fury. Look at all these tanks here. Like, we're getting Winter Fury next turn. Olaf's getting superpower next turn. But if we're going to give Olaf superpower next turn, the best way to do it is to make him use his turn to attack and build up the remaining charge necessary to get it. Ideally, you don't want to give Olaf a full bar at the start of his turn, unless like you just had like some really major engagement and you overcharged him like crazy beyond the bar. So this is kind of nice. Olaf will have to spend most of his turn fighting me before he can get the Winter Fury. So it's a little bit uncomfortable, and I'm going to have as many infantry on cities as possible to anticipate the Winter Fury. This copter is positioned so that it's 3 moves away from these tanks, anticipating a possible counterattack if the situation warrants it. Because when you're in snow, you're moving half speed. So this copter is going to be only moving 3 tiles next turn, assuming that Olaf does get the Winter Fury off. This is a little bit of a misplay. So this anti-air can cover this guy and this guy. But in the Winter Fury, he actually can't reach this tank. It would have been better for me to put the anti-air here. Because then I would have been able to cover basically all 3 of the units. Because even though even if I put him here, I can't actually reach this square when the snow is there, but I can still cover this tile from here and this tile from here. So that's like a really minor misplay. it's hard to be perfect. And again, we are just sitting on as many cities as possible, especially with our infantry. And another thing, we don't even bother trying to capture this city because we know even if we take it, it's going to get interrupted by the likely Winter Fury. So I'd rather just leave it as a counterattack infantry in case my opponent tries to capture that city during his superpower turn. And of course, we get punished for our bad anti-air positioning. This is pretty nice, though. Olaf has to sack an anti-air and bring it down to half health to get charge. So this is great. Olaf feels like it's super desperate. I mean, it's a pretty good way to honestly to get charge, but as Von Bolt, you love seeing units sacrificed into you. And so this is the Winter Fury. So now this is kind of Olaf's time to be strong, and we end up losing infantry on that city, which is not shocking because this is Olaf's time to be really strong. And Olaf's going to set up a wall in the middle, and our tanks are pretty beat up here, so not likely to be able to continue fighting in the center, but that's why it was important to secure the income lead now, because now that the Winter Fury has gone off, it's gonna be like a little bit before I can start capturing stuff again. And if I was trying to secure the income lead like last turn instead of the turns before, it might be too late and we end up on even income or something like that, and then it gets really hard to repair stuff without sacrificing a lot of new units being produced. And we're actually set up really well to deal with this attack up here. We did have the recon kind of chilling. This recon was really more for interrupting anything that went to this tile, but hey, it works out. And this infantry being here is going to be really useful as well. And so now we totally shut this down. So that's probably like the last remaining infantry on this front. Like we don't see any more. So again, the odds of us losing this city to our opponent really low, and there's even a chance that we could potentially get it for ourselves. We really only need one city to get up to 4K. So, and 3K is still playable. It's not terrible as long as we fight well. So, neotank going to be here. We'll be online next turn potentially, though we don't want to be too reckless with the neotank. It's pretty unlikely that our opponent has teched, considering Olaf's income has been 24K, and that's like just enough to potentially buy a neotank without saving for it. But oftentimes, if you're doing like any sort of repairs, like we know our opponent's been repairing this artillery, pretty unlikely that there's an opposing neotank out there. But we do need to be mindful of the artillery because we do not want to march our neotank under the range of an artillery. And we had to move this infantry here to get vision of this because our recon died. Good thing we did. We don't want to give up that city for free. And now that we've attacked it, there's no way that cap will be finished because we just have a lot of infantry in this corner. And we can just send infantry there as long as we want to. And we will prevent the cap. So the play is very simple. We just retreat. We don't need to fight. In fact, we kind of want to delay the fight as long as possible because our reinforcements are going to be slowed down by the snow. But they're slowed down, but they're not. There's no permanent damage as long as we wait long enough. Because once they catch up, like we're going to have a weak reinforced turn for like one turn, and then we're going to get kind of like a double reinforced turn the next turn. So we really just want to delay more than anything. So we don't need to fight. After all, we're not in any situation where we're going to lose any contested properties. So We got to respect the Winter Fury, even though we've been fighting really well. Just Von Bolt things. Just Von Bolt things. A lot of 1 HP surviving units. Copter goes in there, but we were ready for that. I thought that was going to be pretty likely that this guy would get hit, because otherwise it's really hard to remove units. I don't really think this was a good move, though. There's no follow-up for this, and it's just going to get repaired anyway. All right, so not a whole lot of significance. Now, the game plan is pretty simple. We're still at basically no threat of losing any of these cities, and none of this area is under any pressure at all. So really, all we want to do is we just want to brawl down here, and we want to own this corner. And if we can get even one more property in this corner, then it's going to set us up really nicely for the rest of the game. Another nice thing is that all the properties that are still kind of left here are on our side of the middle of the map. So, like, actually, Olaf right now is overextending. Well, he's not overextending, right? But extending into my half of the map. So, this is, if you're going to fight, fighting defensively is really nice. And obviously, we're never in a million years are we going to give up this property. We can just trade this infantry out. Trading infantry 1 for 1 is kind of fine. And we want to overload and be like, oh, recon, you want to attack this, but actually I'm going to cap this with this guy. So choose which one you want to interrupt. So just a lot of infantry repairing. I don't think I've mentioned this before. So taking this lab is actually worthwhile. It doesn't give you any income, but this is a tournament game, and tournament games are, they have a day limit. And at the day limit, which is 35 days, whoever has the most properties wins, and the lab counts as a property. So the center lab is actually kind of a tiebreaker. And assuming that somebody captures the lab, it basically makes a tie impossible because there's an odd number of total properties on the map. So it is worthwhile to at least cap it. Although really, that infantry is primarily there to bait a fight, because anything attacking that infantry will be on low defense terrain next to a high defense property. So counterattacking would be really strong. So it's kind of a win-win. We got really good vision on this side. I don't really know about repairing this 1 HP tank. That might be a little much. Repairing 1 HP tanks are not really great against Olaf, because the next Winter Fury is just going to knock it back down 2 more HP. And if you leave it at 1, it is essentially immune to Winter Fury because it can't go lower than 1. But we take our free copter, and we're just repairing our tanks, repairing our infantry, fighting on cities. It's the Von Bolt way. So yeah, we're just being really conservative here. And after this turn, we'll pretty much have repaired all of our stuff and the neotanks online. We don't even care if Olaf sees the neotank. The neotank is on a city. Nothing is going to be messing with the neotank. Not when he's on a city. And it's good that we have that income lead, because we are really, really repairing a lot. And so we have enough for 3 vehicles, but we're investing a substantial amount of income into repairs as well. There's good positioning here with the copters. So this copter 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So this copter can cover this tank. That's not an accident. because I knew my anti-air was likely to get popped. So we had to account for that. Pretty unlucky, although even if that anti-air dies, I don't really know that it's going to be super significant. A little bit of bad luck up here. I was hoping that Olaf would have to choose between attacking this city and this infantry, but actually he's got a tank up here, so he can... Why not both? Recon taking some punishment, but now he knows about the neotank, so that's it's kind of a nice benefit of the vision control. This tank is really exposed because the vision is down in this corner. So there's definitely a lot of stuff over in the bottom right. However, it is my turn to have the superpower. All right, day 16. So originally I was thinking about holding on to the super and just letting kind of the fight accumulate and let the unit values of the armies accumulate to try and exploit the death ball clumping factor that makes it difficult to magnet the Von Bolt superpower. However, this entire army it's on my side of the map, almost all of it. And it's clumped up, and I don't really need to do much fighting to finish the last remaining 1k charge. So actually, I'm just not going to be holding it. I'm going to be doing it this turn because this fight is going to be wonderful. So I do some just kind of auto plays, but we use the neotank here. We saw the artillery move, so we don't need to worry about the neotank being vulnerable to artillery. And we take that guy out to give us the remaining charge that we need and superpower. Oops. And so hold on. So it goes off down here. Now I'm not super knowledgeable because I don't play Von Bolt that often. I think when I played this turn, I had animations turned off. I don't know if I had animations turned on, whether I would actually see where it went off with that animation, or whether that information is purely just kind of the replay viewer showing that in. So if you're going to play along with me, knowing what I know, we don't actually know that it went off here, because that would have been good information to know. What we do know is that it didn't go off here. And that actually tells us a lot of information, because if we remember what was here, so there's a copter here, tank here, artillery here. So you just add up the unit value of those units. It's basically 29k, which means there is some other place on the board right now that has more than 29k's worth of units clumped up somewhere. And the most likely situation that is going to occur is if there's a tech. So probably like a neotank or a medium tank and a copter, something like that. Or even a neotank and a copter, I think is really likely. And I kind of imagine that it maybe was built last turn and is like in this vicinity. So I'm kind of assuming that some tech got locked down over here, which is great because that's going to slow down the reinforcements of some powerful units and make my neotank more uncontested. So anyway, now we just fight. So this one is a little bit interesting. This has two purposes. One, having this recon this far advanced lets us just see a lot. And we get a pretty good idea of our opponent's strength, because we don't really have anything up here. No tanks other than this guy that's kind of repairing. But we're starting to reinforce in this direction, but they're not there yet. So actually, our opponent is way stronger in this area than we are. However, our opponent, Olaf, does not have any infantry up there. So, with the exception of this guy. So by killing this guy, we further prevent our opponent from taking this city. Because even though our opponent is strong, they have no way to actually accomplish anything with that strength. So we are going to lose that recon though. But we get rid of a beat up infantry for a full infantry, and potentially our opponent's only infantry on that front. It's a calculated sacrifice. And on this side, we really only need to ride this out. We have a lot of infantry down here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's like 6 good infantry in this corner. If we just continue to fight well and win the infantry battling, eventually we will be able to start dominating this side. There's no way that Olaf is going to be strong enough to be able to take additional properties in this side, given the amount of infantry that we have. However, we are looking at the charge, and we're about 20k away from another Winter Fury. It's possible. I feel like it's a little bit unlikely that our opponent can get a Winter Fury off this next turn. Like 20k is a lot of charge to make up, but we're just going to prepare for it anyway. And we're going to put a infantry on this city, knowing that it's going to get interrupted, but whatever interrupts it is going to be really vulnerable to a counterattack. And if he doesn't get Winter Fury, then he will have to send some vehicle to interrupt this. And so I'm thinking maybe, this is something that the neotank could do next turn, is basically shift over to the other side and clean up that infantry. So it's really just kind of a bait and leveraging the fact that we are really, really crushing it in terms of infantry kills. We've killed 22 units and we've lost 11 so far, and it's all infantry. We've killed 10 more infantry than we've lost. So we need to translate that into an advantage for us. We are going to lose a bunch of the units that we kind of sacrificed on the on this side of the map. And then the anti-air comes in here and hits our infantry. Not too much of a surprise. We did leave the artillery in the forest, but we do have higher defense because it's our superpower. Wow, and another copter coming in, so that kind of hurts, but we still do have this anti-air as backup and this copter as well. Woof. Okay, and so a tank sacked into the Neo. That will give him the super, but like I mentioned, having Olaf not only sack units, but have to spend the entire fight without the superpower going into my superpower in order to get the charge necessary to send the superpower. It's basically the best possible scenario in terms of power management and charge management for me. So it's not, you don't ever love getting Winter Furied, but if you're going to get Winter Furied, let it be like this. So we do get popped there. But just superpower things. Okay, so we got to deal with a Winter Fury again. Unfortunately, we can't really fight these copters very easily. But we have a neotank. So now it becomes a little bit of a brawl. We have a lot of 1 HP beat up units. But kill a bunch of infantry. Neotank getting good value. That's the second tank that we've killed with our neotank. So neotank's been very profitable. And being able to leave the neotank on a city makes it very, very safe. Very unlikely to get counterattacked. And we really just want to fight as much as possible on this turn because we are gaining charge this turn and Olaf is not. So pretty much anything that we can attack, even if it's not like amazingly efficient, is great. Repairing more infantry. We want the infantry to be repaired because eventually we're going to want to be taking these cities in the bottom right and we need full HP infantry to do that. Repairing the tanks. Repairing the infantry. Retreating. So I kind of, had some instant regrets on putting this recon there. And then I realized that it's actually fine. If Olaf wants to kill that recon, he's going to have to send both tanks to do it. And if he sends both tanks, I actually have a decent number of units set up over here to counterattack it with. So it'd be like 2 tanks for 2 tanks. And then I've got the artillery coming anyway, so it's not the worst. I mean, look at all this infantry repair. It's pretty nice. We're still kind of on the 3K income lead, which is a little lower than we'd like, but we're now starting to win the unit count battle really, really heavily. And so that's good as well. Like that's going to help us out. Okay, so we are going to lose this recon, unfortunately. And the recon comes in on our city. It's kind of annoying. We will have to use both of our tanks to hit the recon. Look at all these 1 HP units. Just Von Bolt doing Von Bolt things. I was a little bit surprised, actually, that that Olaf left all these units here. Because they're basically just going to die, and they didn't really accomplish anything in terms of unit count. They left a lot of 1 HP units, and we're still up 10 unit kills total. So this is going to further swing the unit count in our favor. And even though we have a lot of really beat up units, like look at all these 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. That's like 6 units at 1 HP. We can use 1 HP units and use them to our benefit, even though they won't be very good for attacking. Like this, for example, they give me the extra attacks that I need to get rid of that artillery. And now, finally, we've won this fight. We've won the fight in the bottom right corner, and now look at all these juicy properties. We cap this with our 1 HP infantry. Obviously, that is purely to just block this city. And now we are going to set up. It's a good thing that we've been repairing this infantry, right? Because now we are prepared to go for this city. And to go for this city. Okay, and in the meantime, so we're going to take out this recon. And we get the freebie, the 1 HP recon was in the forest there. That was probably just a mistake. I think it was a roll to be able to kill it with the 3 HP infantry, but even if I didn't get the roll there, then this 5 HP tank would have been able to come over. And I put the infantry here. This is actually kind of, it ends up being kind of an accidental bait, because now I can bring the artillery in, put it on this city, And now, I mean, every Olaf in the world is gonna put a tank on this tile, hit this tank, and put himself in artillery range, because he lost all his vision on that side. So it's got a serendipity a little bit. And we're actually gonna bring back the neotank. This is something that you can do on this map. So these cities are all 6 squares away from each other. So they're 1 tank move away. So it's really quick to pivot from here to here. And this is obviously a really safe tile, and we want to repair anyway. So pulling him back means any fight with the tanks over here, now a neotank's gonna need another pick off. So I'm kind of anticipating that there's a lot of reinforce coming on this side, seeing that everything kind of retreated on this side. You would expect there to be more stuff on the other side, maybe coming now. And then we also need to pull this anti-air back, because we have no anti-air on this side. On this side, we have this copter that is pretty well protected. So if any, it's not as good as an anti-air, but we've got more stuff coming next turn for this front, but this front has nothing. So we need to be protected against that. And this is where, oh, you know what? I want to step back just a second. So the reason I moved this 1 HP infantry here is because this infantry is full HP, and this infantry is actually really important, because with this full HP infantry, this full HP infantry, and this full HP infantry, next turn I can get this, and this all capped with full HP infantries on the same turn. But this guy has to remain at full health. So by putting this 1 HP infantry in the way, I'm basically trying to dissuade Olaf from coming in and chipping away at that full HP infantry. Anyway. So the tank comes in here, and surprise, you're in artillery range. A little bit surprised I didn't see more stuff come in here. Although I can kind of understand reluctance to overcommit into artillery range. And now this neotank being over here, like we're gonna have a fun time kind of crushing this. And this anti-air is actually not safe as well. But first things first, we want to secure this income lead. We've been at 3K income lead for a while. It's a little bit lower than we want, but now we are gonna reap the rewards of our good fighting. So now we've got all 3 of those properties, and as long as we can get, I mean, even getting 2 of them would be amazing. If we get all 3, that's now a 6K income lead, and it's going to put us in an incredibly strong position for the rest of the game. Almost unlosable. And now we're going to be using these beat up guys. I figure this is the property that Olaf is most likely to defend. So I'm going to put my wall of 1 HP guys in the way of here. And if for whatever reason Olaf does attempt to defend this, whatever comes will be attacked by my my reinforcements here. So that is the benefit of having the unit count lead. You do have to spend units to kill them, and And then whatever you spend is going to be vulnerable to counterattack. So we see a medium tank. So we were kind of wondering where the tech was, and so now it's showing up. Additionally, this medium tank is very, very blatantly attacking into an area where there's already a neotank. Generally, when that happens, it means that if my neotank attacks into that medium tank, there's some kind of backup plan, right? So I don't really need to attack this medium tank necessarily. It could be kind of a bait, and really the one way that I could start to lose control of this game again is to throw away my neotank for a silly reason and get a little bit behind on tech, because I've been spending so much money on repairs. I haven't added any additional tech units beyond just the one neotank. So if my opponent comes in with like a medium tank and a neotank, and I lose my neotank, there could be a period of time where I'm going to be trying to fight against a neotank without really good answers to deal with it. So we're going to avoid that situation by being disciplined with our neotank. We see a copter come in there, but that is covered by our anti-air. Very deliberately. We see a tank come in here, but that's fine. We don't need to kill everything here. All we need to do is secure our 3 properties, which we did. So now we are in amazing shape. Obviously, never going to let him get this city. And I just wanted vision to see if this was covered. Kind of lucky, I guess, that this guy is able to see. So copter, and we confirm a neotank. So that 2 HP tank got his money's worth. Thank you for your service, good friend. Goodbye. But now we definitely won't. We don't need to attack into that medium tank. And in fact, seeing all this stuff means we can eat this infantry for free, because this neotank is now out of range of all this stuff. So yeah, at this point, we're just trying to exploit the unit count advantage, which at this point is really, really substantial, 20 units. Now, given 15 of those units are infantry, so we can't take it too lightly. Our opponent, Olaf, is going to have probably reasonably close to the same amount of vehicles that we have, but we have absolutely dominated the infantry fight, and we just need to let that work itself out naturally. We've gotten amazing value out of our neotank. And now we see the other neotank, so now it's our turn to tech. After all, we are very, very rich, and we want to have more tech units than Olaf can because we have more money. And we don't need to attack into all those units, even though it's tempting, because we already got what we wanted, which were those 3 properties. So now it's Olaf's problem to figure out what to do. Because there is a time limit. We're at day 20, so 15 days. Olaf has to flip, I think, 4 properties at this point. So unfortunately, the anti-air gets wrecked pretty hard. That's okay. The anti-air did at least get a copter. And if we're trading kind of even for even, then in terms of unit count especially, it's going to be profitable in the end. So at this point, we need to pay attention to our meters again. So Olaf is at 20K. We don't really want to fight. We kind of want to just counterattack. So this is kind of like the overcharge theory, right? The plan is we kind of send these two sacrificial units. Olaf will get really close to the superpower, but not quite there. And then we'll be like ready to counterattack whatever hits this stuff with like our neotank, and we'll have like a ton of tanks in position and stuff like that. And also, I want to try and force an attack here as well. This artillery is covering both this city and this neotank. And we're going to shift to the middle because we know the stuff is here. So we're expecting a fight like over here, and we want all the healthy units we have over here to be supporting that effort. Stalingrad, the map of pivots. So we're going to try and take advantage of that pivot. We got this city, so we don't need to be here anymore. We'll let Olaf show up whenever he can. And build a bomber. This is really, more than anything, just a reflection of the income lead, because we can get a bomber and 2 vehicles, and the bomber will make it very easy to deal with the neotank should somehow we lose our own neotanks. It's kind of a backup plan. One thing I did see in retrospect, there is a way for Olaf to get superpower this turn, and I wasn't completely expecting it this turn. I was kind of hoping that he wouldn't get superpower, but I then realized that actually if you kill this infantry and you sack the medium tank into the neotank, that would get a lot of charge. Because normally 20k charge is a lot, but actually if you're sacking your own medium tank, it's not that much anymore. So a lot of fighting going on. Brave infantry eats 2 vehicle hits, but we are going to see the medium tank sack. Kind of a little bit unlucky. If this roll was a little bit higher, there would have actually been a chance for the medium tank to completely kill itself on the neotank, I think. And that would have, that would generate more charge, but more importantly, I think that would clear a spot for, I'm assuming that Olaf's neotank is like in one of these 2 squares. So that like you get Winter Fury and then you send the neotank in to hit my neotank, but instead the neotank is over here and has to kill a recon in order to get enough charge. And now finally there is Winter Fury. So it wasn't, and then I get broken as well. So this, like, I could have played this a little differently, because if I had anticipated that Olaf was going to get Winter Fury this turn, I would have put this artillery like here instead of getting greedy and trying to cover this city as well. Okay, this feels a little bit scary, but there are 2 COs in this battle that get a superpower. And fortunately for me, this is where the death balling works against Olaf, because all of the tech and army is committed up here. This is a lot of money in one place. 7K, 14K. This is 22 more, so that's up to 36K, 45K, and some change on top of that. So 45K and some change, so maybe like 47K roughly. I'm not gonna do any more math than I have to. So this is 47K in this area here. If Olaf has 47K worth of magnet somewhere else on this map, I'm going to be legitimately concerned about my chances of pulling this game out. But I'm pretty sure that's not going to happen. So I am just going to pull these infantry away, and we're going to let it rip. Oops. So yeah. So it looked scary. Now it's no longer scary. It's no longer scary. The neotank is stunned for next turn, and this neotank is going to arrive in time to fight over here. And the tanks got stunned, the copters got stunned. Importantly, copter, but also anti-air, anti-air, anti-air. All 3 anti-airs are in position to reach the copters despite the Wind of Fury. Not an accident. Just really good positioning, if I may brag a little bit on that one. So this counterattack is going to be absolutely brutal. If I hit the tank with this infantry, we know that the medium tank has to be at 1 HP, not just like 1 on the screen, but just like literally 1, because it was at 2 and then it took an ex machina, so it got dropped to like the minimum possible HP. Infantry attacking into the medium tank has a 90% chance of doing at least 1 damage, so this is a 90% chance to kill. Why? I don't know what it is about this game and me losing like 90% rolls, but it's happened twice already. So that's really obnoxious, because now I really would have loved to do something else with this artillery, but now this artillery has to clean up the medium tank. It's not the end of the world, but it's annoying when you have a 90% roll and it doesn't work. But anyway, we were cleaning up the recons, which is nice. We probably didn't need to send this neotank in here, but it is Olaf's superpower turn, which means that Olaf is not generating any charge, so pretty much any fighting that we do this turn is going to be great. Removing infantry is just good, because you need infantry to cap stuff. Even if we lose a copter, it's kind of okay. So there's a lot of stuff down in this corner. And we don't have a lot of stuff down in this corner. We don't need to try and be a hero and figure out a way for like this 3 HP infantry to attack this city. We're just gonna let it go. It's fine, because we're getting this city. We'll go from being up 6K to up 5K. Math is hard right now. Well, I think we're up 7K. We're up 7K, and we'll go to being up 6K because we're going to get this city. So it's okay. We're still above the 4K threshold that we want to stay above. But really, this is just a matter of kind of closing this out as we are on day 23, and again, this day limit draws ever closer. And now with this city captured, this does mean that all properties on the map belong to somebody, which means that it's mechanically impossible for it to be a tie anymore, for what it's worth. And so that does mean that Von Bolt is going to have to flip 4 properties, I think. So I got 1, 2, 3. Yeah. So 4 properties. So he's got to flip basically these and the lab for some 4 properties in the last 12 days against Von Bolt, which given the discrepancy in unit count, probably not going to happen. So we're still up 18 unit kills, which is extremely substantial. Obviously, we do have still a bunch of like really low HP units, but 18 is a lot. And with the income lead and the tech advantage that we have, now 2 neotanks out on the board. The medium tank's gone for our opponent, the neotank's gone for our opponent, and we get a bomber on this side. We can kind of just ride our tech units to victory at this point. I built a T-copter just to try and make sure that I get more infantry down on this side, because this side I'm never ever losing, given all my tech units over there. At this point, it's a little bit academic, so I'm gonna maybe go a little bit lighter on some of the strategizing, because it is primarily just about not timing out in the next remainder of turns to be able to secure it. Just mechanically, it's really hard to flip this many cities in a limited number of days, unless you just like totally wipe your opponent off the map, which did not happen. And we're going to set up to take this city, although we may have to wait because we are actually getting close to another Winter Fury, which feels ridiculous, but here we are. We are kind of overextending here a little bit, but I'm kind of curious like what he's got, and removing infantry it's been kind of the name of the game in this match so far. But the rest of the stuff will just kind of chill. And this infantry is out of range of the comm tower, so this guy is purely bait to be able to counterattack whatever interrupts that infantry. And we also set up the artillery to cover this square. Not an accident. So a good position around the pivots with our artillery, or sorry, with our anti-air means we can actually get both of these copters. We have a lot of recons, and just killing all this stuff means it's gonna be very hard to defend that city. And we're also still going after the center city as well, which is kind of protected by the anti-air wall, which is not really what you want to wall with normally, but they did their jobs. So we get some vision in the bottom left. This infantry is totally unsupported. We can just kind of chill. Think about maybe retaking the bottom right if it works out, but we don't need to, because we're winning pretty hard on the other side as well. This looks like it's gonna be a Winter Fury turn. Yeah, definitely. I think I kind of botched the positioning on this bomber. I could have put it here. I guess it being here means it stays out of vision, though, so that's nice. Sacking an infantry for Winter Fury. I think he's had to sack. Every single Winter Fury has involved a sack of some kind. So lots of artilleries. I mean, there is like a decent amount of infantry here. That APC been working hard the whole game, but realistically, like in terms of positioning, like there's just way too much here to ever give up any properties, even though the infantry numbers are pretty decent. We are out of anti-air on this side, so that kind of stinks, but we did actually manage to keep this infantry alive long enough, so we actually have managed to flip that center city. So now it is further difficult for us to lose the tiebreak at the day limit should it come that way. And yeah, we got neotanks, so we can just fight the tanks. We don't even care about the copter. And it is good to fight as much as possible on your opponent's superpower turn if you can safely, because it is charged for you and not for your opponent. So we are just brawling as much as we can. Recon does come in, hits the infantry, but still high enough to cap next turn. Does look like Olaf is just doing a bit of the old copter spam because they need infantry, which is fine. But copter spam does mean no tech. So those neotanks are going to be running around forever. Okay. So one nice thing we can clear out this this recon, because it got counterattacked by a 3 HP infantry, and so that it's got some chip damage on it, and this tank has like a 50% chance to kill it. And if that doesn't happen, then I can send this 3 infantry over, and it'll be like a 96% chance to kill. So we'll just do that. Why? It doesn't even matter. So to emphasize how ridiculous it is that didn't kill. I mean, I know it's utterly meaningless in the context of the game, but so the 3 HP infantry roll is 4 to 6 HP each, and then the tank roll is 91 to 99. So the only way that recon didn't die, the tank literally minimum rolled a 91, and then both infantry rolled a 4, so that it has exactly 1 HP left. It's mechanically the only way that possibly could have happened. Anyway, more fighting. So you bring the infantry into the bottom right to capture the bottom right city, should the game continue. But not really a lot of drama at this point. All right, and there's the result. So we made it through to the finals, which will probably take a very long time to get started. I would not anticipate the finals starting before 2025, honestly, with the way that some of the pools are, or some of the groups are looking. They're just going to take a long time to run through. Thanks, Frostleaf, for taking forever. I don't want to start that discussion again. But anyway, let's take a look at the full vision replay very quickly. This has been an extraordinarily long recap, so I'm going to try and keep this short because I am tired. So recon, tank, and then the APC as we expected. So this is the early tank to protect against harass. But you can kind of see that Olaf is kind of splitting the tanks here. So we got some, a bunch of vehicles going to the bottom right, and but also some going here. And so we correctly deduced with our information that we were going to end up really strong in this area. And then this was really the critical turn. Once this turn happened, we kind of found out where we were in the game, and we were able to make less blind decisions after this turn. And the good pivot there. The stupid roll and the anti-air drives me crazy. Yep, the nice wall here, but a lot of copters because we're up. So even here, like the unit counts even, we're down on net worth, but we're able to retreat, and retreating is fine because we do have the income lead. So every turn that goes on, we're going to be building that army value back up, and we've kind of equalized it again. And then this was the superpower turn. And so we actually, this magnet was kind of messy. Both the medium tank and the infantry got locked. So 2 bases actually got locked by this. So in a sense, the Ex Machina actually killed 2 units because it prevented 2 units from being built. So it's just a tough situation for Olaf to be in. And then you can see like this really hampered the reinforcements because we were getting beat up a little bit on this side, but there's just like, look at this area where there's nothing that's going to show up. And then when this turn happens, now all this stuff is just left to die because there's nothing to reinforce it. And it's just copter every turn, basically. Copter every turn. We end the game up, 10K with the lab. So pretty decisive game. A long game, but I definitely felt like, when was the moment that it's when we got these bottom 3 cities. When was that? Yeah, day 20. So once we had day 20, I knew that there was almost no way we were going to lose. Getting that bottom right corner, going up 6K is just like such a dominant income advantage. And with Von Bolt's day to day, it's really hard to throw unless you're really trying hard. But yeah, it's pretty academic from there. Just a matter of taking reasonable fights. All right, that's going to do it for me. Wow, this is a really long video. If anybody is here at the end, thank you for listening to all this. I hope you learned something and enjoyed this this series of videos. It's been fun. This is my 2nd Smacky Cup that I participated in, and I think the 4th one's actually going to be starting like really soon. At the time of recording this video, it may have already started by the time this video goes out. So maybe we'll be doing this again, but it's going to be a substantial wait before the finals, just because all the other groups have to finish. before we can start the finals, and some of them are going to take a while. So with that being said, thank you all for watching and supporting the channel. I just hope you enjoy it. I don't ask for anything. Just hope you enjoy playing Advance Wars and learn something and have a good time. We will see y'all next time. Thank you for watching.